Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. Electrifying.
Yes, guys, and welcome back to the Cannon Podcast. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all good. No, Alex, he's got a cold. So I've got the main man, the GOAT, my favourite, Fies.
Hey, it's so good to be here. And hopefully you guys got the reference to the old pot noodle. I know he's been offended in the past, the pot noodle lesbian that he is. I'm trying my best to be Alex tonight. Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Lovely to be here.
I love it. I love it. Like, always love your company. We've always had good chats on X, privately, on the Latte Firm as well, which you should absolutely subscribe to. Elite podcast.
Thank you.
And yeah, how are you doing? Good?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I am itching to get back to the Emirates this Saturday. I cannot wait for it. International break. I respect any man who wants to play for his country, but I am so bored of it. I need the Premier League back. You?
No, I'm buzzing. Yeah, absolutely buzzing. It feels like this last 2 weeks has taken age. I think it's because the loss and the manner of the defeat in terms of the goal that we conceded and the after effects and the discourse, Arteta in, Arteta out. It's really draining. So I just want the football back. Forest at home. We'll talk about it as well. Big Ange back as well. So definitely want to be excited for. And I'll be sitting near you, I think, actually. So I'll definitely come at half time.
Oh, you must. You must come and swing by block 9. That is the block to be at the Emirates.
That is the block. But just general housekeeping, Nindo. Alex to run his agenda one more time. Yeah, he was actually really wanting to do the Ange impression that he's absolutely nailed. But I'm sure he'll do that on the instant reaction after a 5-0 win. Alejandro, good morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. Nazari should watch Steve Kerr and Mikel Arteta conversation. Very interesting. Actually, let's just start with that. I know we didn't speak about it before, but I want to talk about it with you because you were actually there live in the flesh to witness the main man, Big Mikel. Could you just give us your thoughts and your what you felt coming after it, what you felt going into it as well, and did it change anything about your thoughts? I know your thoughts tend to align with mine in terms of Mikel, but was there anything really interesting that popped out for you?
Yeah, there was loads, man. It was sensational. So this is basically an event that was put together with Steve Kerr, obviously a legendary NBA coach, and Mikel Arteta, of course, and they've got a very strong bond. They've known each other for a long time. And it was put together as a leadership sort of playbook chat. So 90 minutes to hear from Steve and Mikel about their careers and their mindset and how they've developed their careers and how they motivate and lead finely trained athletes who are at the top of their game. And it was fascinating, Ro. I was lucky enough to have a couple of tickets to go along. We gave away a couple of tickets to Patreon members as well over on the channel. And it was just an amazing event, a very intimate affair in a London hotel. And Mikel spoke candidly and openly about what it's like to be manager of Arsenal Football Club and the responsibility. There was almost like a Mikel Arteta sort of bingo where he talked about, having clarity with communication. He talked about bringing in energy to training. He talked about the intensity in terms of the pressure in the changing room and the pressure and the demands that he has on all of his players. He talked about his 3 principles to sort of, talking to players and, you sort of ask someone to do it and can they do it and do they want to do it? And I think that sort of clip's going around. I think Alex shared it from a very different event, the Under Armour event earlier today. And he just spoke about how he's motivated by obviously trying to improve, continually sort of developing and seeking, the ultimate, which is basically winning honours with Arsenal Football Club. He talked about his happiness and his fondness of the club and everything that they do, the environment, the importance of all the personalities in the squad and the coaching setup. And he, once or twice he talked about what inspires him. And weirdly, Steve Kerr was asked about, who motivates you? And he said, well, my dad. He gave me everything that I have, and he brought me to be the man that I am, blah, blah, blah. And Mikel Arteta didn't name anyone. And he talked about a football being his inspiration, his motivation, because he said, if you were to go to, let's say, a poor place in the world where people don't have stuff, and you chuck a ball into a group of people, it brings happiness, it brings hope, and you forget everything that you're doing in that moment. And he described it in a much more Mikel articulate sort of way, very sort of sexy Spanish sort of way. And we were just sat there going, oh my God, I love footballs. And, it was a really, really incredible evening. Very lucky to be there. And all of us, so Laura Kirk, Haroon Hickman, and Gunnar Punner, many of you will know from socials, the four of us were sat together. We all walked out, and the underlying feeling was, oh my God, I want to go to war for this guy.
Yeah.
We were just like, come on, let's go right now. Like,
Yeah.
he has a wonderful way with words. And, you know, Ro, you're a student of the game. I know how much you love rewatching the action and talking about the footage. But there is so much good value in terms of like just listening to coaches. Like, don't just hear them, listen to what they say, digest the words, try and think about why they're using specific words, specific phrases. Honestly, it was a masterclass in leadership, and I'm privileged to be there. So yeah, loved it.
No, that's brilliant, mate. And I think it's available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify now as well. I think you went with Haroon, and I think he's posted it as well. So I'm really interested to listen to that. And I find it interesting, actually, when you mention how, you know, the emphasis that he puts on the football. And I think it also, fans can relate to that as well, because whatever you have during the working week, there's going to be tough times, right? And then when you go to the games, like you go every single week at the Emirates, and that period where you go to it, you enter the stadium, you're with your mates, and you feel the highs, the lows. You're away from reality in a sense, aren't you? And it's just in that moment where you feel a connection with players that you're most likely never going to meet ever in your life, you know. And I feel that feeling is something that people can resonate with, and I find that really interesting, because that's certainly, like, I think a lot of fans will look at that and think, wow, because, you know, you can feel to that. You can feel that energy of just going to the game and just having that feeling of that emotional attachment to the club that you love, you know, and that's brilliant.
Do you know what it is, Ro? And to use another Mikel Arteta word, it's the connection.
Yeah.
You know, he talks about it so much. We've seen it in the All or Nothing documentary, right? But like I have, just like you have, and just like everybody watching from around the world tonight, we have a connection with this football club, and we have a sentimental attachment to all of the players and everything about our club. It's just a wonderful, wonderful football club. And for me, going to matches, I'm lucky. I live in London. I'm very privileged. I've been supporting the club for a long time, as you guys can tell. Going home and away, for me, it's a release. You know, I stress about the dumbest shit you could imagine, right? I've got 2 young kids, I've got a day job, I've got my own channel, all that sort of stuff. But like when you go there for those 90 minutes, you completely forget everything in your life. It is a completely unadulterated, joyous sort of 90 minutes. And, you know, you mentioned this word. Football for me is about moments. Of course, it's about winning. Of course, you want to win the league, you want to win silverware, but like you lose yourself in moments in games, in goals of games, special goals, special ways to end the game. Like we'll all look back and think about the Declan Rice chest down against Manchester United. Do you remember that? The Gabby Jesus sprinting away.
Of course.
The Xhaka winners against Spurs, the 3-3 against Liverpool. Like there are moments where you just think, that day was exceptional. The Reece Nelson, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Everyone remembers like what they were doing in that very specific moment in time. And to be in that stadium, mate, I was at the front doors of heaven. Like it was sensational.
No, 100%. And this is why I do think, I know we absolutely want to win, and the ambition should be to win the major honours, right? But like, I think for me personally, you know, I'm younger than you, and you know, I've not seen just, and I wasn't able to witness the Invincibles, you know, live in the flesh. I've watched the footage back, but it's not the same, isn't it? In the same way that you watching, you know, like older Arsenal footage that you weren't able to be in the ground for, it doesn't feel the same to you in that regard. But I look at those seasons in the 22-23, 23-24 campaign, and some of those moments, I was there for the Reece Nelson win as well. Like that for me is one of my favorite moments as an Arsenal fan, you know, and that's crazy because it's just against Bournemouth, who weren't playing well at the time. They take a 2-0 lead, and then it's the last kick of the game, and he does it, and someone from Hale End as well. Like those moments, they stick with you, and I do think that, you know, there's the pressures of winning, and I feel like, you know, Arteta in, Arteta out if we don't get that major honour this season. But I really do feel that the journey, and I know it's very fairy tale like, and it doesn't mean much potentially to people if there's nothing at the end of it. But for me, that journey you absolutely do need to enjoy, and those moments and memories I certainly cherish. For sure.
And listen, when the silverware comes, Ro, it's going to be so much more special. And obviously we're desperate that it's this season. We're craving the big one. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
100%. Gabby with the super chat. Thank you so much. Great shout, FK. I don't know how aware you are with this, but there's a growing theme with Alex. And there was one TCP live where it was just a lot of great shout, Alex. Great shout, Alex. So great shout, FK.
Well, thank you, Gabby. I appreciate the donation to the channel. I'm sure that will go down very well.
This is an interesting one from Azizi. So I'm assuming that he's listened to it back. So he also talked about how he can be stuck in his ways, and he's trying to work on that. So I'm guessing there were some periods in the talk in which he showed a vulnerable side to himself and was opening up on things that he is trying to improve on. Is there anything you could potentially give back for people who haven't listened?
Yeah, there are a couple of things that he talks about. I don't want to spoil it for people. So so guys, if you haven't watched it, check it out. It's a really, really good insight into Mikel and to Steve Kerr about leading in sport. But he opened up about sort of family life and what he does away from work and how he seeks his release. And he talks about an energy being in the house. And he says that the alarm goes off in the morning, and he's the first one to jump on his kids in their beds, in their bedrooms, and wake up, energy, intensity. Could you imagine it? Yeah. And he talks about how he's got a stable family life and how that's his sort of release from the game. He just does simple things at home. He did talk about him being a very stubborn and very rigid sort of person. Like he's always been that way. He's always been a certain type of player, certain type of man, certain type of father, husband, etc. But he acknowledged the fact that he's new to this game as a manager. Like he's still got so much to look forward to. So it is about evolving. It is about developing. It is about changing. It's about being intelligent and working on your wisdom. But it's going to come with experience. So it's fascinating. Do check it out. It's wonderful to watch.
We certainly will. And I find that really interesting as well because this. It feels like it's been an eternity that Arteta has been Arsenal manager, but he's still so young and new into the game. And actually, we spoke about it on the Latte Firm as well in terms of, you threw that question to me about Andrea Berta and the things that he has brought this season so far in the summer window and the unprecedented window that we had. And I felt like, for me, the biggest positive with Berta, outside of the things that he's done, is the fact that he's a different voice. It's the fact that someone with experience and that know-how. And I feel like someone like Mikel, he's a keen learner, a student of the game, as you would allude to as well. And I find that really refreshing as well, because I think for me, it's nice that he is able to have those vulnerable moments and is able to, openly show that there are things that he needs to improve on. And and it's certainly good to hear from me. So I'm buzzing to listen to that, actually. And I'm a bit jealous that you were there in the flesh, because I would have loved it as well.
It was amazing. And listen, if I know everyone loves Mikel Arteta, but do listen to what Steve Kerr has to say, because there's some really nice insight about what it's like to lead, a squad of 15 basketball players and how the mentality is slightly different. And Ro, do you remember that celebration when the boys used to do the old basketball celebration?
Oh yeah.
So that's where it comes from. Steve Kerr came to do a talk to the Arsenal boys, and that was that. So really, really lovely. Go and check it out.
Nice, definitely. We'll be listening to that later today. Forward on football, I refuse to believe that FK has a day job. The man personifies the daily grind. And there was a recent daily grind that you did with the main man, Clive, which was fantastic. I listened to that at work, and mate, it was brilliant. I loved it.
Mate, he's sensational. Honestly, Clive Palmer of the Arsenal Vision podcast, the godfather of Arsenal podcast. He's just, you listen and he talks, and you just forget that you're on a channel, and you forget that you've got chat. So do check it out. It's on the Latte Firm channel feed if you want to check it out from last night. Thank you, bro. Appreciate that.
Do that. And speaking of Forward on Football, he does the thumbnails, and I don't know how aware you are, Faiz, but he does excellent ones for TCP Live, and he has absolutely popped off with one here.
Oh, is he? Come on, let's go.
Here we go. So
there's no doubt that that's you. Go on.
There's no doubt there. We've got Alex there in his elements as well.
Alex looks so young. Wow.
I mentioned to Alex, if you look at Alex's videos from like 3 or 4 years ago without the beard, mate, he looks just young.
Different man. Different man,
mate. And there usually is a hidden Rohan somewhere.
Yeah, I was trying to find it earlier, but I can't. Is he in Angie's eyes? Maybe. No.
Is it somewhere here? I've got no idea. I never am able to actually find it, to be honest. No.
Maybe but he doesn't actually exist.
But he's absolutely cooked. What are you giving it out of 10? Would you say?
Mate, I'm giving that a solid 8.5 because he's so good at these, right? He did one for me on Friday.
And really?
There's that picture of Noni Madueke, Bukayo Saka, and Ebbs sort of for England, and they're just looking out to the pitch. So we do the late night lounge on a Friday night with me, Wayne, and Yembele, and he put our faces on those 3 heads, and it was sick.
Really?
So Forder is sensational, and Forder on Footy. Check out his YouTube channel. Really, really good content on there as well.
Top guy as well. Really, really good person as well. So I'm going to give it a 9. I think it slaps. I never give 10s.
It is good.
Because
do you know? Have you not given any of them 10?
No, you can never be perfect. And I've also been honest as well. At times I've given like a 6 or a 5 because like the level that he's hit, certain weeks it just didn't slap as much, but this week is top notch.
It's good. And the theme, the Phantom, Ange coming back. No, mate, it's good. It's good. You're never going to give it a 10 because you're channeling your inner Mikel Arteta. The stubbornness right there. Love that.
Absolutely,
Love that.
Absolutely. We do have Alex here actually, and he's coming from his bed. He's not feeling really good.
What did him?
So do give him some love in the comments for sure. He's just not built like us, though, is he, Faz?
Nah, mate. Honestly, what's going on? You just don't have the minerals these days. Wish you well, Alex. Wish you well, my friend.
Terrence Dibbs. Hello, young Rohan and old Rohan. We get this a lot, actually.
Do you know, I once shared a picture of my kids with Alex, right? And he saw the picture of my son and he said, "Oh my God, you are Rohan's dad. My son looks scarily like you." I mean, he's only 6 years old, but yeah, it's frightening. I'll WhatsApp you afterwards.
Oh, please do, please. I'd love to see that. But we will get into the Ange talk actually in a bit. But firstly, I want to talk about the international break and just a review of some of the players. I don't know how much of the footage that you've watched, but a lot of players have been fantastic. Essentially, I'm talking about Madueke, Rice, Calafiori played really well against Estonia as well. Managed to catch that game. Mikel Merino. Unreal, Hattie, and a goal in the previous game as well. 4 goal contributions in the international break. So maybe let's start off with your highlight from the international break on any of the games that you featured, even the comps. I'm sure you would have seen some of the comps that have been going around.
I mean, the highlight has to be Mikel Merino's hat trick. I mean, the quality of goal.
Yeah,
and the reason why it's a highlight, Ro, is because even though Uncle Clive was on the show last night, I still just don't know what Mikel Merino is and what his best position is. Like, I'd go so far as to say that he might even just be the best finisher at the club. I mean, it's ridiculous. And it's not just about this week. If you think about since February, 18 goal contributions. And you think about the tail end of last season, goals against Real Madrid, goals against Liverpool, internationally, goals against France, the hat trick last night. This guy is an immense footballer, but he's an enigma. And I don't know where he's best sort of placed in this team. Now, last night I put it to Clive to say, well, is he like the Swiss Army knife? Is he a 6 and an 8 and a 10 and a second striker? And what do we do? How does Arteta get the best out of him? But what he's doing is delivering. Like every time he's called upon, he's doing it for club and country. I mean, the guy's got the minerals. So I'm really intrigued by how he's going to play. I think you remember, obviously, at Anfield when the lineup was announced, we were all shocked to see Merino in that midfield. And maybe Arteta had a bit of a game plan and thought, right, if Merino can nick one, box crashing, all that sort of stuff, then great. It didn't quite work. But so I'm really intrigued to see how Mikel uses him, but you can't knock it. I mean, what a wonderful couple of games. He's had 2 games, 4 goals for his national country. And he's getting praised by the coach and by so many others in the Spanish setup. So, yeah, really impressed with him. You?
No, 100%. Yeah, mate. I've been kind of not the most like praising of Mikel Merino since he's came to Arsenal in general. I do feel like with Mikel Merino, his weaknesses are extremely discernible. Like when the game becomes stretched and it's transition based, Merino is null and void in terms of being able to meet players and run back and protect the back line in that sense. But he's not necessarily that type of player. I've been able to learn more about him as he's played for us because I didn't watch him before we'd signed him. So I was intrigued to see how he would do. I saw a lot of the numbers, in terms of the dual winning statistics, the aerial capacity, etc. But I feel like that was slightly misleading in terms of, it gave this impression that Mikel Merino is this really dynamic, player who's able to cover a lot of space in the mold of a Declan Rice. But we've seen him enough now to know that he's not that type of player. And I felt, and I said this to Alex, after I'd say around about 10 odd games last season, where Mikel Merino, the deeper he goes, so when you're in the North Bank, right, and you see the opposition, they're pressing onto us, and you see Mikel Merino come deep to show for the ball, and he's got someone on his back. I don't know about you, but I'm worried because I feel like he could lose it, and I think that's a limitation of the player as opposed to his awareness, because actually Mikel Arteta has mentioned that Merino is the most tactically astute player in the squad. I don't know if you've seen some of the quotes that have gone around there, but there are limitations within his game. But mate, when he goes higher up the pitch, as you've alluded to, his quality is fantastic. His finishing is unreal. And, the goals, like I said, against Real Madrid. But some of the goals that aren't even getting highlighted against Fulham, that opened the game at the Emirates there, against Chelsea from the corner as well. He scored against Aston Villa as well for the winner, but then it was disallowed with the Kai Havertz handball. So he's had a lot of moments, in the final third that makes you think that this is a player who can really impact the game for us. And you saw it for Spain as well. And Mikel has spoken about it before. Arteta, not Merino, Mikel Arteta has spoken about how when the game becomes one in which the opposition is sitting deeper and deeper and deeper, someone like Merino in the box, his intelligence and his awareness to find space and to get on the end of chances is second to none. And actually the numbers back it up as well when you look at, in terms of non-penalty expected goals compared to other players in the Premier League at midfield. And that was at a time, and I know the data is slightly skewed to some extent in terms of he didn't have loads of midfield minutes prior to the centre forward stints that he had. But still, that's a player who accumulated the most non-penalty expected goals before his centre forward stints out of anyone in the Premier League when compared to other midfielders. And then you have his centre forward room, which, he showcased a lot of quality in the final third. And for me, he's going to be a player who will be very valuable when we're chasing a game and when we need a goal in particular. Because I don't expect, we'll talk about it. I don't expect Merino to be starting against Forest. And I think that would be strange, starting against Forest.
Well, that's the question then, right?
Yeah.
So again, in my head yesterday, I was thinking, right, is he at best just an impact sub? Depending on the game state, depending on who you're playing and what you're trying to achieve in the closing stages of a game, do you just chuck him on as one of the best finishers at the club, someone who can box crash and someone who can read the game so well in that final third? Or is he a Swiss Army knife in that he can do a little bit of everything and cover for a number of players in the team? So imagine you're the gaffer. What do you do with Merino? Where are you getting the best value from him? What would you do with your elite football knowledge, man?
No.
You see what I did there? Yeah.
I love it. See, you're a pro. You just know it as a presenter in that sense. I actually lean more towards the thoughts of don't know here in terms of a great squad player. I think Merino is very much someone, as you allude to, Swiss Army knife, in the same way as Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu was Arsenal's Swiss Army knife. Unfortunately, the availability just killed him in that sense and really impacted us. I think Mikel Merino, depending on the game state, he's going to be someone who's of significant use, like very good use in the final third when we need a goal. And also, in the big games, I do see the idea of starting him in the role that we had in the absence of Martin Odegaard at Anfield as well. So I wouldn't say he is a starter for me in that sense, but I do think he's going to be a player who will become very useful within the squad. Is that how you see him as well, maybe? Or do you see him having a more prominent role?
I like you, I can only call it by what I see, right? At the end of the day, I'm just some bloke who watches from the stands and comes home and just sort of watches on the sofa.
All of us are, isn't it?
Yeah, well, but I just feel that like when I see him, I don't see an elite technically gifted footballer. When I see him, I don't see him as a starting central defensive midfielder. He's absolutely not a defensive midfielder. I don't see him starting as a central midfielder because we're stacked now in the squad. And obviously I don't see him as a striker. So at best, I think he's just going to be a squad player, really good one at that. Someone who can give us options off the bench, someone who can maybe take minutes out of certain legs in certain games, you know, like we've got domestic cups, we've got potentially, and I hate to say this, but sort of lower league opposition when you need to give a player a breather between two Champions League games, maybe, let's say. So he's definitely got a use. He's also one of the older players in the squad at 29 years of age. You know, you think about how young some of the boys are, particularly some of the younger ones coming through Hale End. So he's going to be quite influential in that regard. And from what you hear, you know, he's a tactically very, very smart player, as you alluded to. And he's just a model pro. So all-round good egg to have around the squad, I think.
Yeah, I think also, you know, the experience that we lost with the Jorginho as well behind the scenes and the impact that had on some of the younger players. I think Mikel Merino is someone who is taking up that role as well, leaning into some of the thoughts that Mikel has had about his tactical awareness and his understanding of the game there. So, yeah, really, really good international break for him. I want to go into the next player. And I remember when I came on the Latte firm, and I think it was really fresh when we signed Madueke. And there was a lot of conversation that we had about left wing Madueke. But before that, just give us your thoughts on, mate, I don't know if you caught a bit of the England game against Serbia and some of his in his performance. I also felt that he did well in the previous game as well. I can't remember who that was against actually. But yeah, I think he had 2 really, really promising performances. But yeah, just tell us about your thoughts on Madueke and his international performances, and what do you think is to come from Madueke? Because obviously, without Bukayo, there's a lot of opportunity there for Madueke to build momentum, continuity in terms of team selection as well. So yeah, just give us your thoughts. So
I got to open by saying, obviously, it's galling that we've gone to Chelsea and given them loads of money for a player. And let's get that out of the way, right? That I think everyone was really jarred by that. Like it's another Chelsea player. It's another player who they don't want. So they sort of cast him off as a reject. But I think there's a lot of value in this player, Ro. Excuse me. I'm really excited by Noni. I think he's a very, very talented player. All the stats, all the experts talk about him. Excuse me. All the experts talk about how he progresses the ball, carries the ball, runs at his defender, loves to shoot on sight. Those are some of the qualities that Arsenal have needed. And we've most of all needed backup to Bukayo Saka, not only because we've played him into the ground for the last sort of 2-3 years and he had that horrific injury last year, but also because we're not quite sure how he's going to recover and how explosive he's going to be. And now, of course, he's got another sort of knock with cramp, right? So really important that we had quality backup, because it's difficult to replace Saka. We know that, right? But the thing that really interests me is that could Arteta, he had an obsession with Rafinha, who was a left-footed, right-sided player at Leeds, did so well, went to Barcelona, and probably because of Lamine Yamal has now moved over to the left-hand side, and he is on fire. And I just wonder if Mikel Arteta might be tempted to do that. But look, Noni's he's a hard-working player. From what I've seen so far, I'm really impressed. Like he wants the ball. He's running in behind. I think he's full of confidence. I think he's got a bit of a, sort of his chest is out because he's playing for the Arsenal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I think he's proud. And if you've seen the carpool,
I did.
Mate,
with
so
Frimmy.
good.
Yeah.
With Frimmy. And he said something about how his dad and Bukayo Saka's dad have been mates since they were kids, and how they used to spend a lot of time together as families. And obviously, you're not aware of that, right? Because you're not in that circle. But when I heard that, I thought to myself, okay, this is a guy who's obviously well connected with the boys. That sort of family life. He's a Londoner. Mate, there's a lot to like about him. That's all I'm going to say. And I love what he does on the ball. I think he's just getting started, and already he's showing glimpses of brilliance. And the goal that he scored for England the other night, the way he just sprints away from the defender,
it's crazy.
And then the finish, like he's holding off the defender as he gets into the box, and the little dink finish over the keeper. Fantastic. How can you not be excited?
Mate, I really, really like Madueke. Like, I think he is so close to exploding in terms of his output and his productivity, because, mate, keeping it very simple, right? He's quick. He's electric. He can beat his man both ways. Down the channel, coming inside. So he's a two-way winger. A lot of wingers who, they can be quite predictable, where you show them one side, they're able to be defended quite easily. Whereas Madueke, when he stands you at 1v1, and, some of the behind-the-scenes footage that, when we signed him, he was all about, his emphasis is on lining up his fullback 1v1. He wants to take anybody on, and I love that. I really love wingers who are direct and are going to take risks, and I think Madueke is certainly someone who showcases that level of quality. And his defensive work rate as well, Faisal. I felt like when we signed Madueke, there was this narrative about him being a player who is not going to be able to do the hard yards and isn't going to be diligent in that regard. But going back to what you mentioned about Mikel Arteta and his conversation, and also about the young players and the development, and one of the things that he put a lot of emphasis on is the fact that they need to want to do it. Madueke absolutely wants to do it. He's hungry for it. He's ready. And I really do think that we have a player who I think he's going to explode. I genuinely feel that, because all that Madueke needs to do is when he gets into those decisive moments, like you saw against England with the finish, everything else that he did before that we know he can do in terms of dropping deep, then spinning in behind, then getting past this man. Then it's about that final action. Can you finish when it really matters? And that's the biggest frustration with Noni Madueke that I think Chelsea fans had, where when they assess him, and from what I gathered from listening to what Chelsea fans were mentioning about what they felt about Madueke, it's like he does everything, but it's that final end product. And that's something that Arsenal fans, we see. That's something that we absolutely need. So maybe the frustration with the Madueke signing is that, we're signing another player who has the potential, but he's not put it all together in those decisive moments. But, mate, I genuinely think with Saka out, I don't believe we should be rushing him back. I think we should be trusting Madueke. This is the contingency plan that we had in the absence of Saka. Now we've got to trust him. We've got Forest at home, Bilbao away, and a big one against Man City as well. If Saka's not ready, let Madueke have it. He'll be up against 8 Nori, and I don't know if you watched some of the games last season. Madueke was cooking Wolves, and he absolutely cooked him.
So, on toast.
Yeah.
The final thing on Noni is that I think we think about the profile and type of forward that we've needed, and we've talked about that, the progressive sort of, passer, ball carrier, running at your fullback. I get all of that. The biggest thing for me, Ro, is that now there's an air of excitement. Yeah. If the ball gets played out to him, Arsenal fans are on their feet.
Yeah, when he's 1v1, you're
immediately
there.
You're thinking, go on, Noni, take your man on, go on. Because we've been so conditioned into what Gabby Martinelli's been struggling with on the left-hand side, and we've been equally conditioned with what Saka can do. And then, of course, he was injured and he was missing for so long. Like, now we've got another player who's fit and he's playing, and you're thinking, this guy, he can take on any fullback. He's going to go for the kill. Yeah. And just to your point about the consistency in the final third, the output, he didn't play more than 70 games for Chelsea in all his time there. So he's relatively inexperienced. And I think the more game time he has, it's a stable environment, a clear coach with clear instructions, not a different coach every sort of year. I think he could thrive here. I'm not sure about explode. Maybe explode compared to his own sort of ability, but I think there's a lot of potential, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him at Arsenal.
100%. I think for me, the final point of Madueke, it's like that game against Liverpool when he lined up Gyökeres. It was an exciting battle, wasn't it? And I felt, to be fair to Gyökeres, he recovered well, made some of those last-ditch challenges that denied Madueke from being able to fully pounce on the situations. But as you alluded to, it's about getting him in those situations more and more, isolating him, and that's what will get you on your feet. And I want to see that on Saturday. I want to see it time and time again, and I'm really excited by it, mate. Honestly, I think he's going to win over the fan base really soon. I really do believe that. Wait. MJ, who is the editor for the Cannon podcast, so thank you so much for your super chat, Rohan plus FK Asian Takeover. Big up the gang. Oh, so nice. And there's also this from Andre. Member for 15 months. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Great article by Alex, actually. And yeah, and Alex has
done a second. Andre, he looks a lot like you.
Don't go there. Don't go.
Is that a joke?
That is me, right? That's me in 2014.
You haven't changed one bit, Andre. That's genius. I love that.
Oh God, yeah. But there is an article though that Alex has done. So Alex has posted a piece for the Metro about Viktor Gyökeres. So do check that out. It is really good, and he's cooking, Alex. Absolutely cooking. So let's get on to the next topic. Let's get into it. Saturday, 12:30 kickoff. By the way, Faisal, actually, I want to get your thoughts on this. I absolutely hate the 4:30 kickoffs, right, on Sunday. So we've had the Liverpool.
Why?
Yeah, I hate because you have to wait the whole weekend before you play.
Wait till we're picked to play 7:00 Sunday night. That's the new slot, isn't it?
Yeah, I think actually. Is that? Oh yeah, because Palace and Aston Villa played, didn't they? Yep. On the no, we actually have got the Man City game at 4:30 and also the Newcastle game at 4:30 as well. But
and potentially, I hear the North London derby at 4:30. We should wait and see. Yeah.
But I like the 12:30 kickoff personally. I love the 12:30.
As long as you win, because it just tees up the whole weekend. You put your feet up on the sofa. You watch all of the Saturday games, all the Super Sunday, and just laughing at those teams. I love it. Love it.
I will say though, our record on TNT, it's not great. 12:30 kickoffs, but we shall see. But in terms of the game, right? I think going into it before the announcement of Ange, it was just going to be get back to business, get back to winning ways, momentum before, the Champions League game against Bilbao and then heading into the big one against Man City. But with the Ange factor now, how are you feeling? Just in general, give me your thoughts, opinions on, just how you feel going into the game. Are you nervous? Are you feeling a bit, apprehensive about the potential of the new manager bounce happening? Just give me your thoughts.
I'm not nervous at all. I'm not apprehensive. I'm not cautious. I'm not saying that we're going to slap Forest, but I am excited beyond belief, man. Like, we've had 3 games in the Premier League after a summer of no football. Like, we have been starved. There has been no famine, and we finally saw product at Old Trafford and Leeds, and of course the disappointing defeat at Anfield, which we need to get out of our system. So I am ready for Saturday. I'm so ready, and I love the fact that it's a 12:30 kickoff. With respect to the fact that it's Forest, look, they had a fantastic season last year. No idea what's happened behind the scenes. They've got a chaotic owner. They've got Edu obviously trying to pull the strings, and they've had a good summer from a signing perspective, been busy in the market. Ange, I mean, look, he was a joke at Spurs. They, of course, did win the Europa League against the next worst team in England, Manchester United. So nothing really to be proud about. But of course, it's a big trophy for a tin pot club like that. And I think for me, the fact that he's now Nottingham Forest manager, no, I'd maybe be a little bit worried or cautious if it was away.
I said this as well. Yeah,
like the unveiling of Ange, and he kind of walks on, and the crowd are up for it. Yeah. I think they come into Arsenal. Even though they've got mainly a fully fit squad, he's probably not had much time there to sort of train them on their high line, which is a shame. But I think we should be comfortable, man. And we are. I just think Arteta's got the bit between the teeth. Our players are coming back, so very, very interested and not fussed about Ange. I mean, it's a surprise to see him back in the Premier League so soon, because I didn't think he enjoyed it, and I think him winning the Europa League and leaving was a big FU to everyone, all the media, because it became quite sort of, sad for him. Everyone sort of mocked him about the, I win everything in 2 years, mate, or whatever it was. And it's just like he was getting sick and tired of it. So I thought he'd leave, and I thought he'd just go and not sort of come back. So I'm surprised. You?
I thought he'd have like a year sabbatical at the very least, just to get away with it, because mate, the amount of times that he'd come post matches, in the press conferences, and it's extremely tense, isn't it, between journalists as well, in which he seems to be that type of character in which, when he's challenged on something, he doesn't enjoy it. I feel like he's someone who sees his way, and that is the way that he operates and how he wants to play football. And when certain things are being questioned, and when you're going for adversity, every manager gets this, certain decisions are going to be questioned and they're going to be scrutinized. And I think I didn't think he dealt with that very well. But we'll have to say, as much as, they are tin pot and all that. And it's a cold line, though, isn't it, in terms of winning stuff in your second year, and he managed to do it, right? So I'll give him that for sure. But I agree with you in terms of, I feel like with it being at the Emirates, in front of our crowd, I can't see this having a major impact. And also, as you alluded to, coaches need more time than a few days to be able to implement their philosophy. And I do question on how, if he's going to use the blueprint that he had at Celtic and at Spurs for Forest, I don't think their players are necessarily comfortable in playing that way. But we shall see. I'm intrigued by what we actually do in terms of the starting 11, and that is what we're going to do next. So you are going to give me, but we'll go through it together. I've got the lineup, got it all out, nicely positioned.
Oh, nice.
So I'm guessing, obvious, Raya.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know about.
Although, do you know what? I've got to say, sorry, Jero. Kepa, I think he's going to get more game time than a lot of people think this season. I think we saw towards the back end of last year, David Raya just needed that mental sort of break, that disconnect from football. Like, Arsene Wenger used to talk about rotating goalkeepers and giving them a mental rest because of mental fatigue, and I never really understood it. I was like, what? A goalkeeper? They do nothing. But the concentration that you have to have, and you could see errors creeping into his game. I think Kepa's going to get some game time, and I don't think Kepa's going to be easily shoved out of goal as well. He's a very capable goalkeeper, and he might have 2 or 3 good games on the spin, and then it becomes a decision. Look, Raya's clear at the moment. I get it, but Kepa's no mug.
I actually, that's a really good point. And also, with Kepa, what I like about him and Raya is stylistically, they are extremely similar. Now, in terms of the level, there's a clear gap. But I feel comfortable with Kepa coming in certain games because mate, he had a fantastic season at Bournemouth last year, and that is under a coach in which there are a lot of similarities to Mikel in terms of how he likes to operate. And I think that gives me confidence where, I don't know about you guys, but when it comes to goalkeepers and between your first and second choice, some people feel like, okay, you've got someone who is very good on the ball, who's able to command his box in terms of when the ball is at their feet, he's able to make the right decisions. And David Raya, he's fantastic, in possession, and he's fantastic as an all-rounder keeper. But sometimes people feel, the second choice goalkeeper needs to be someone who's slightly different. If he's a cup goalkeeper, he needs to be just a pure shot stopping specialist, which I actually think David Raya is a fantastic shot stopper. But that kind of, difference in terms of the number one, number two, whereas I feel it's got to be someone similar, because even though the goalkeeper, an injury to your keeper, that's really hard luck, right? It's not something that happens usually in terms of your keeper going out for a lengthy spell. So in that case for me, but when there is something like that happens, you do need someone who's similar, and I think Kepa will do well. I think Port Vale will probably be his first game. But I'd imagine also in the Champions League, he might play a few more games than Neto did last season.
Yeah. Let's not talk about Neto's save at the halfway line. Do you remember that?
Oh my god!
Yeah, so Raya in goal for Saturday for sure.
Right back. So I don't know what's happening in terms of availability, but I'd assume Timber is available, and I feel Ben White might be knocking on the door fitness-wise as well. But I don't know if you've heard anything.
Yeah, he was in full training today, Ben White. So
okay.
Full training today, ready to go. Jurrien Timber, I think Arteta's talked about load a couple of times, and I think obviously he was out with the Dutch boys over the break. So up to the gaffer. But for me personally, I'd love to see Ben White back in the team. I love Jurrien Timber. He was my player of the season last year, for lots of different reasons. But
yeah,
I want to see Ben White because of who I'm going to play at left back. But would you go with White or would you go with Timber?
I think I would probably lean towards Timber personally for this game. I think if Ben White was fully back and available and he had minutes under his legs, probably I would go for Ben White because of it being against Nottingham Forest. And I do think with Timber, I don't know if you feel this, Fires, but I think Timber, right, he is the best 1v1 fullback that we've had since Ashley Cole, for me. I felt that last season, after the first few games, because I feel his fundamentals, when he's 1v1, he clamps players. Players don't get past him. That's his baseline. But where Timber lacks, I feel, is the consistency in the final third. I don't think he gives the same level of quality in terms of the timing of the runs, in terms of the understanding as a Ben White. And that's natural, right? Because Ben White, when we talk about that right-hand side and that partnership that they had with Saka and Ødegaard, there was a lot of continuity there in terms of these three, they're going to play every single week in, week out, and they were able to develop that synergy and that chemistry. I feel like Timber still needs more time to develop that, but Ben White's superior there. So I don't know if do you have those question marks over Timber? I think for me, he will get there with more games, but I think right now that's what's preventing him from being the all-rounded fullback that we want him to be.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think there's a need for our right backs to be complete at everything. I actually quite like the fact that they're quite different.
Yeah.
And, it goes back to, again, level of opposition that you play. I agree with you. Jurrien Timber, virtually impossible to beat, right? It was only Kvaratskhelia who really had him on toast for that sort of half an hour in the PSG game last season.
Yeah.
Miles Lewis-Skelly, I've got to say, shout out. I mean, very, very difficult to get past. And he was the one that we were saying, best left back since sort of, Ashley Cole. So there's a few in the team that are difficult. Ben White, I think he's better going forward. I think I've just thought about Saturday's game, and obviously they've got Callum Hudson-Odoi, who's very quick, loves to play on that left-hand side. And maybe Arteta goes for that sort of defensive stability, but I'd like to see White back. So if you're going with my team, I want to see
let's
Ben.
do your team. I want to see. It's about you today, Fires.
Well, in that case, we're playing 2 at the back. We're going 3 in the middle and 5 up top. No, but I think Ben White, I want to see, just sentimental. I want to see him back in the team. I want to see those overlaps. I want to see how he develops a relationship with Noni. I think Arteta will go Timber, but I would go Ben White.
Nice. Like that. Centre back, right centre back. I think it's got to be, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Saliba's obviously out. A real shame. They're hopeful that he's going to be back in 2-3 weeks' time. Apparently, a 5-year contract on the table. So that's really exciting. So let's get him nailed down. But in terms of a lineup, Christian Mosquera, what an appearance at Anfield!
Baptism of fire, wasn't it?
mate, just think about
Yeah.
what must have been going through his mind, right? So he's done the pre-match warm-up. He's seen Saliba go down, but the coaching staff has said, no, he's fine. He's going to start. He's going to play. So he's obviously trotted off to the tunnel, into the dressing room, and his mindset mentally preparing to be a sub, maybe an unused sub. 3 minutes into the game, in a big hostile environment, home of the champions, Saliba goes down. Panic stations. Arteta's sort of, ruffling on the touchline.
Yeah.
Calls him over and says, right, son, you're going on. And then to put in a performance like that, in that environment, nothing short of phenomenal. I'm so happy with this boy. I'm really excited about what he's going to bring to this team. He's got to start, and what a wonderful moment it's going to be for the boy. Home debut, full stadium. Yeah, it's got to be him.
Do you know what it is for me, mate? Like, so when I rewatch some of the footage back and watch his games, firstly, he's someone, I don't know if you're aware of this, but in terms of under 21s, over the past 2 seasons, he's played more minutes than any other under 21 in Europe. So he's someone who, young for sure, but he's got a lot of experience under his belt. And actually, he's played at the Bernabeu. He's played at the Camp Nou as well. So he is, not unfamiliar with those high octane games in difficult atmospheres / environments.
Yep.
For me, what I love about him is his raw physical attributes, mate. He's electric, up and down, physicality as well. He's brave on the ball, not always precise, even against Liverpool, where he comes on, he oversteps in the carry and he gives it away. But I love the confidence of that player because, I think, again, fans resonate with that. These are things that fans want to see in terms of a young player coming in, stamping his authority and looking to take the game and take the initiative. I really do feel, again, this is exactly why Mosquera was signed as well. We needed to manage this right-hand side a lot better. It's not just Timber and White. It's the fact that Saliba has played a ridiculous amount of minutes since he's came back from his loan spells. He would have played every single Premier League game at the back end of the 22-23 season had he not got that injury. And then the following campaign plays pretty much every single minute. And then also last season, when he was available, he would play. And I feel Mosquera is someone who will allow us to manage his workload a lot better. And I'm really excited to see. It's the same as Madueke, where I feel, again, it's a really good opportunity for a young player coming in and to showcase what he's about, and I think it's all about that drop-off. The window was about making sure we don't see a substantial drop-off between the elite players. Now, we mentioned it before, right? If Saliba is out for the season, if Saka's out for the season, you can't mitigate that. But over small number of games, in isolated scenarios, I'm really excited by what Mosquera can offer, and I think it's good experience for him as well.
Yeah, and listen, just thinking about it, I think the fact that Mosquera is familiar with playing with Timber, another reason why Arteta might go with Timber on the right hand side at right back. But yeah, Mosquera will get the nod, I think, alongside big Gabriel Magalhaes.
Just a quick comment here from Nasir. Rohan, do you know that India is playing in the Asia Cup? I absolutely do. I actually tailored my working hours yesterday to ensure that I could watch them against the UAE. And are you going to be watching it, Faiz, on Sunday, the big one against Pakistan?
I will now. I will now. Why not? Absolutely. I had no idea it was on, I'll be honest with you.
Well, yeah, it is clashing with the Manchester derby, so might need to be a 2-screen thing there. But moving back onto this, left centre back, it's got to be, innit?
Yeah, the Warrior. Is there a better defender in football? I mean, Van Dijk's, he's obviously held that crown for a long time, but this kid is a new king. What a player,
mate!
What is there to say? What's there left to say about him, Ro? He's just unbelievable.
I think it's because of the fact that, when we talk about the peaks and troughs under Mikel, he's been through them all post, the FA Cup win. That was his first major signing, when the change went in terms of him becoming manager as well. So that season we signed Partey and Gabriel. Gabriel was, someone who went through that really turbulent spell before Boxing Day 2020 with the Emil Smith-Rowe inclusion. And then, again, the highs and lows of the 21-22 season, losing the first 3 games. And then he is someone who I think, for me, he started off as a diamond in the rough, where I think everybody could see the talent of Gabriel. But in terms of what he's become, I am shocked in terms of how he's got to this level for sure. I think people will be like, you could have always predicted it. I felt I could always predict that he was going to be a top level centre back, but I didn't think he would reach this level. But I don't know about you. Did you always feel he was destined to become this certified world class elite? Because he, for me, is the best left footed centre back in world football.
No, man. I mean, I'd be lying if I said to you, "Oh yeah, mate." When we signed him from Liga, he's going to come in with these progressive passing stats and the physique that he's got, and he's going to be unbelievable. Reality is, he's taken, I think, all of us by surprise, and he's taken football by surprise. We backed him. We've given him the platform. There was that summer where he was linked with a move away, and of course, we're so delighted that he stayed. Phenomenal player, absolute warrior, leader on the pitch, leader in the dressing room, gives everything. You are guaranteed, if there's one player in that starting 11 that is going to leave nothing, out there on the pitch, it is him. He will give everything in every game. What a player! And listen, Chris Wood, he will be playing up front for Forest on Saturday. This guy scored 20 and 36 last season. He's already got 2 in his first 3 this season. He's going to be a real handful. It would not surprise me to see him leading towards the Mosquera side. But I think Wood will be in for a pleasant surprise, because Mosquera can give as good as he gets. But as a duo, very, very comfortable with that.
100%. And actually, just going to Terence Tibbs's comment here in terms of, the early mistakes that Big Gabby had. You remember them. You remember in 22-23, the Mitrovic moment. You remember against Liverpool as well, the Darwin Núñez moment as well. He had these isolated mistakes in his game. But I feel with Big Gabby, Fies, it's like, every time he made a mistake, during that period where he was still improving, he'd always react in game. I remember that Fulham game where he makes that error for the Mitrovic goal. He eventually is the one who gets the winner, And then against Liverpool, where he makes that mistake for the Darwin Núñez goal, he is key in terms of scoring that goal on the break to take us 2-1 just before half-time. He's always someone who's reacted during adversity. And I think what you kind of alluded to in terms of backs against the wall, when you're going to war, he's someone he's the first person I'd want in that team. When we feel like the game is one in which we're not going to be able to control with the ball, we're going to have to defend and be resilient. He's someone I want straight away in there. I would even put him ahead of Van Dijk in that regard, in terms of when we're in that sort of environment where it is really difficult. I certainly want him to be in the box defending those situations. So yeah, I think we're absolutely blessed to have him. And I know. So you've been watching Arsenal a lot longer than I have, right?
All right, mate, calm down.
You've seen the highs. I'm not.
Yeah.
I need that, right? Yeah. For me, Saliba and Gabriel, Big Gabby, in terms of attributes stylistically and as a partnership, that's the best I've seen at Arsenal. Who would you have ahead of them, or would you say they're up there? And yeah, because I think right now it's, for me, what's preventing us from having the conversation with some of the fans who have watched the Invincibles and watched the glory days there is because of the lack of honours. I think if the honours were there, I feel like the conversation might be different in terms of as a complementary pair. But what do you think?
I think these two are well worthy of playing for any club in the world. And you would feel bad for them if they finished their career without a major championship winning title in any country to their name. That is, they deserve it. They are worthy of it. They're of that caliber. Now, given my age, and I know I look young, folks, I get it, but yeah, I am an old man.
Fresh. You're looking fresh.
Thanks, man. Tony Adams, as a footballer, was absolutely extraordinary. But Stevie Bold, absolutely phenomenal. But Tony Adams, what he lacked in technical ability on the ball, I would say these are both ball playing. The modern centre back now, ball playing. You got to be able to pass it long, ping it short, go around the defender, go through the midfield. You got to be so switched on the ball. But Tony Adams, if there was a player running through on goal and you had a choice of one player to try and sort of hunt back and win that ball back, you would pick Tony Adams. He was just legs out of nowhere, incredible strength, leader, definition of leader. He was hard, man. He was hard. If you were going to go into a fight, you'd want big Tony Adams going with you. Do you know what I mean? He made you feel safe. The one that comes close to Tony, probably a better footballer, but all of these things depend on the time that you supported Arsenal and the memories that you have and growing up and the eras and all that sort of stuff. Sol Campbell. I mean, I smile when I talk about Sol because of all of the stuff with that lot down the road. But this guy, monster of a defender, Rowe.
Yeah.
This guy was not only, I mean, Tony Adams was a fighter and he was strong and he was hard, but Sol Campbell was built like a brick wall, like tank. Players used to bounce off him. He used to eat strikers up for breakfast. And with Sol, he could move at speed. So he had all that weight, all that bulk, and he could fly across the pitch. Sol Campbell was, oh wow, what a defender! And you know, Ro, you wouldn't have maybe been old enough to appreciate at the time, obviously, but like when we were in for him, every top club in Europe was in for him. There was no news of Arsenal. In fact, the reports about Arsenal, I couldn't afford it. We're probably not in for Sol Campbell. We had to read it on newspapers right back in those days.
Teletext.
And something called Teletext. I'm surprised you even know it. And then that day when Teletext flickered and that story came on, or CFAX, whatever it was, 303, page 141 on those apps, Gunners set to sign Campbell. And then Arsene Wenger just walks out of the flipping training ground with Sol Campbell by his side. Mate, you think about the Mesut Ozil signing day. If that day was, and we had social media back then,
technology
that would have been the GOAT of transfer deadline days, transfer activity. So yeah, for me, look, Tony Adams, Sol Campbell. I seen a shout in the chat there from Terence Tibbs for Martin Keown. He was a pit bull terrier of a defender.
Yes.
Weirdly, of all the three, I wouldn't want to play against Martin Keown. Because he'd just be at your ankles and he'd be pulling you and pinching you and pushing you and like getting in your face. Like he was a nuisance of a defender. Sol Campbell was just an elegant brick wall of a monster. God, I don't know what I'm describing. And Tony Adams had the fight, and mate, Tony Adams is the sort of player that if he was stretched off with an injury, his fist would be up, giving it the big as he was carried off the pitch. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the sort of character he was. So they're all very different. You can't really compare generations or you know, I would have loved to have seen Gabriel Magalhaes alongside Sol Campbell. I'd have loved to have seen Saliba alongside Tony Adams. That's obviously a weird fantasy that you just have in your head because of the age that I am. But I mean, these two, they're up there, man. They are probably going to end their Arsenal careers as one of the best defenders at the club of all time.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I love listening to you just like reminiscing on the moments because I've not seen that, man. I've not seen it. You know, I've watched the footage back. I've watched games back, but it's not the same as it is not the same as watching it live in the flesh in that moment. And when you mentioned about the Sol Campbell and what that would do right now in the modern day with how advanced technology has become, mate, we saw what the Eze signing, right? Mate. Sol Campbell would have been tenfold than that, wouldn't it? It's like,
mate, honestly, it would have been off the charts, off the scale. Imagine going down to that lot and signing their best player on a free transfer in this day and age.
Especially what he said as well beforehand as well. Like,
I'm not leaving. I mean, wow. It was sensational. You know, sometimes I think to myself, man, I've been around. I'm so old. And you look at all these young whippersnappers doing their YouTube channels and they're absolutely smashing it. But at the same time, Ro, I'm really glad that you mentioned it. I would not trade because what I was able to experience week in, week out at Highbury and that football we played under Arsene Wenger and that group of men that we had in 2003-04, nothing will ever better that. Even if we won the league now.
Did you go to all of the games then as well?
Most of them, most of them at Highbury. I was obviously a very young pup.
You need to show me some of these pictures that you must.
I've got some crazy pictures. I got hair.
Please do. Like, I want to see. I will. One of my things I like to do about Arsenal is like watch the past games back and try and reminisce on some of it. Try and feel it, and you can't feel, but just seeing it and the excitement they would have had. And I feel like, you know, right now with how I view Gabriel and Saliba as these two juggernauts, maybe my view on them relative to the Sol Campbells, to the Tony Adams would be swayed if I was in that moment being able to experience it as you did there. And as many in the chat would have as well. Terence Tibbs has been putting a lot of comments about, you know, the juggernauts of the Adams, the Campbells, the Keowns, the Bolts. Yeah. So yeah, FK with hair. That is FK with hair is actually I've seen it. It's
mad, isn't it?
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
What I will say, just to kind of close that chapter, if I had to pick my Arsenal supporting life's greatest 11.
Oh, go on. Yes.
I would I would have Sol Campbell.
Yeah.
And it's criminal to leave out Tony Adams, but just because the partnership I think would work, I'd have Sol and I'd have Gabriel Magalhaes.
Interesting.
There's my back two.
Nice.
I just don't. I think that no one would ever beat them.
Yeah.
How can you leave out Saliba? How can you leave out Adams? What am I doing? Anyway, move on to left back. There we go.
Move on to left back.
Enough reminiscing.
No, I love that. Love that. Left back for me is Calafiori. Yourself?
Ooh, I would have gone Miles Lewis-Skelly only because. Yeah, I mean, he didn't play in the last England game. Left out obviously because Tuchel had to reduce the squad from 24 to 23. He's been back at Colney. He's looking good. He's not played much this season, and Ricky Calafiori has been fantastic, really, really fantastic for club and country. His biggest issue, Ro, we know this, is just being able to stay fit.
It's durability, isn't it? That's it.
Absolutely. When he is, mate, we were talking about on the time when you came onto Light FM last week. Like, he's just a phenomenal player. His biggest challenge is availability and readiness. He released an issue on his Instagram earlier today, I think, just talking about finally, he's got the bit between his teeth. He wants to show all his fans and show the people what he can play, and he's just really excited about this season. But I think Arteta's got to be careful. You go and play for Italy. Has he started all 3 of our games?
Yes,
this season?
He has. Yep.
So just, I know it's only 4 games in 5-6 potential fixtures that he could have played this season, but Arteta, just manage his load and don't just leave out Miles Lewis-Skelly, for too long, because you got to keep him fresh and you got to keep that, because at any time, any player can get injured. If you isolate a player and just keep him on the bench for 6, 7, 8 weeks, that's not good rotation. So Saturday might just be the perfect game. And that way you can rest. Exactly. Rancid Pumpkin. Great to see you in the chat. Keep Calafiori against City. We'll remember what he did at the Etihad last time round. Yeah. So yeah, for me, Miles Lewis-Skelly.
No, I think that's some really good points as well. And I think, the litmus test with Mikel is how you navigate between different games and how you manage the load and keeping players fresh, as you alluded to. Miles, didn't play the last game against Serbia. Played well in the previous game. But yeah, I totally buy that. I personally would go with Calafiori. I would have looked to have made the rotation against Bilbao. But yeah, I hear those points, and this is
who we've forgotten. We're not even mentioned him.
I know. Would you throw him in there?
Nah, I wouldn't throw him in there. But obviously, people it's considered. Piero Hincapié. I mean, what a compilation going on in this game.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, why? Wow! And the sort of coming together with McAllister already in his head. Mate, I love it. I love what Arteta and Bertie have done with this group of defenders. It's the Ministry of Defence, Ro. We are stacked, and it's about bloody time.
yeah, it's some group for sure. Moving on to midfield. By the way, if you guys do have any questions, we'll be rounding off the show after this with a section on the questions that you have. And we can test more of the elite ball knowledge that Fazo has, because he's always presenting. We don't get to see him. Loose. That's what we need. So yeah, do get your questions in if you can. In the holding midfield position, I think we're in unanimous agreement.
No doubt. What a player. Honestly, this guy has the lot.
Yeah.
What else is there to say, Ro?
Would you feel? So I feel the narrative about Zubimendi is he's still not fully there, the Premier League so far, and has not adapted. I feel it's been slightly over-indexed, but do you share any of those?
I think he's adapted. I think he's probably not as fit as he needs to be. So the first sort of 70 minutes, he's good. Last 15, 20, struggles a little bit. And it's a shame that Christian Norgard wasn't fit and in the squad for Anfield, because I think Zubimendi, that would have been the perfect sort of replacement. But I think football-wise, no doubt, technical ability, sensational, has just come in. The game is in his head. He's one step ahead of everyone on the pitch. He's calm. He surprised me with his ability to deal with the physical aspects of the Premier League.
Yeah.
I thought he'd struggle because he's not a 6-foot+ giant. And of course, players come over from Spain and they tend to take a few weeks to kind of get in the swing of things. But no, man, what a top player. And I think the more minutes he gets now, the more familiarity he has with his teammates, it can only be a good thing. The only thing that I would suggest here, and maybe this fixture has come too soon, but there are going to be times, Ro, where you're going to say, do you know what? We play either Zubi or Rice at 6, and we go Ødegaard and Eze left and right ahead.
Yeah.
But Forest at home, match day 4, and so early on in the season is not the time to do it.
I agree. I actually do think I'm interested to see how Mikel experiments with that midfield in specific games. And I'd love to see it. I think there are opportunities to go with, more natural twin tens in that sense, and Eze and Odegaard for sure.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Right centre mid.
The skip with his fresh trim. It's got to be.
Yeah. Thoughts on the trim?
Elite. Absolutely elite. Unfortunately, there's going to be no more sort of hair flicking, which I know riles a lot of people, but when he does it, I often think he's looking at me and doing it. But hey, no, listen, it is so important that Martin Odegaard has a good season for us because he is the maestro, he is the coach on the pitch, and he is the one that's going to get us, pressing and flowing and ticking. I desperately want him to have a good season, bro. I think he's had a troubled sort of 12 months for whatever reason. Let's not speculate, but his health, he was looking a bit too lean at moments of last season. He became a dad. He had his injury at the start of the season. A number of, the perfect storm. So let's hope now he's got all of that behind him. He looks a little bit healthier. He's had his sort of trim. He looked electric the other night for Norway.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Get him back in. Get him back on that pitch. Let him cook.
100%. Couldn't agree anymore with that. And we can finish our midfield trio with the big man.
Yeah, Deckers. I mean,
just give me just eulogize.
I mean, bloody hell! What? I think we paid 1/10 of what we should have paid for him. I mean, this guy is. I'm so proud to have Declan Rice at Arsenal Football Club, but this guy is an endurance athlete of the highest order. He is box to box, the lion heart, the brave heart, whatever the phrase is. Like he is absolutely the lion in midfield. Honestly, I still can't believe, Ro, that we've got Declan Rice.
Mate, same.
He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. Like the game, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what time the game is. Doesn't matter who you're playing. Doesn't matter what game state it is. This guy is busting a gut to get to every ball. He's phenomenal. He's absolutely phenomenal. And I think there's another level in him, Ro. Genuinely.
I agree.
Like, he's developing a sort of finesse about his game. He's obviously hot on the set pieces and the free kicks we saw last year against Real Madrid. I still think he can add a few more goals to his game. Like he gets himself in really good positions outside the box. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see him shoot on sight more. Set pieces, phenomenal. Like I say, engine, phenomenal. Leadership, phenomenal. What he does on the pitch, recoveries, tackling. One thing that I'd like to see is I want to see him develop a bit of an edge. Okay. Like he's very happy, very smiley, very positive, very energy, very bubbly with all of his teammates, and before the game with the fans and stuff. I'd like to see him just a bit more elbowy, pushy, in the ref's face, Patrick Vieira-y type. Yeah. And if he develops that edge, then I think you're talking potentially best central midfielder in the world.
I didn't think of it like that. That's interesting.
Mate, there's because when you think about like the Vieiras and why they make them so special, these guys they were leaders, they were men, they had a real edge about them. Yeah. And Declan Rice, to me, he seems like a very friendly, fun, bubbly sort of character. And I think when you have that edge and that sternness about you, you have that aura in the tunnel. You have that. I just think. Yeah, I could be chatting complete nonsense. People probably are, what is this guy talking about? What does he know? But genuinely, I just think he just needs that dark sort of side to him. He's a bit too nice and friendly and chatty and huggy and smiley with the opposition.
Like, and you see that in his interviews, and you see that in some of the
listen, interviews is fine. And I want players to be human beings in interviews. I get all of that stuff, right? Yeah. But I want him to be in the ref's face. I want him to be less smiley. I want him to be like aggressive, like going like head first, like head to head against like Rodri, staring him in the face and like giving it the pushing players. I want to see that. I love that edge. And this is going back to my age, bro. We talked about all the elegance and the finesse of the Invincible season, mate. Those 11 players that we would play week in, week out were tough as nails.
Yeah.
You wouldn't start on any of them. You think about from the goalkeeper, Crazy Ends. Lauren was a tough. Yeah. So people still say to this day the hardest player in the squad. Lauren, you wouldn't think it. Ashley Cole, like street, like proper hard.
And then
you got Vieira and Edu and Gilberto, just the wall. Like, mate, I want him. I just want him to have that steel edge. I know it's a tiny thing, and maybe some people don't get it, don't appreciate it. Yeah. But if he does that, mate.
Well, from this comment as well, he seems too apologetic when he fouls someone. I do kind of see. I think maybe that is leaning more towards that sort of feeling that you do have there in terms of that edge and that. Yeah, I do.
Well, Vincent makes a really good point thereafter. He just said, I don't think you can coach that. I mean, maybe you can, but you're right, Vincent. Like, he's probably wired in a specific way. But, like, I'm just saying, if that was my sort of wish list, if he just developed that sort of dark edge to him, I think he just takes his game up another notch.
Nice. Interesting. He's already a fantastic player, though. We love him, don't we?
He's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
We won't need to talk too much about this guy because we've already waxed lyrical on her, and then we think he's going to be bagging. I reckon
Go on, Noni. Can't wait.
And then the big man, Yok.
Mate.
Are we doing it? Are we doing it this Saturday together?
Of course. No one cared about me.
Am I coming over at half time?
Mate, doing that is how you're going to greet me. In fact, I don't want to see you unless you come to my row with that face. Ford has just nailed it, man. Bergkamp, he had that edge. I think Ford gets it.
Ford gets it.
Yeah, I can't articulate it any better. For those of you that are the younger generation wondering what the flipping hell is this geezer going on about, you watch that 2014 edge.
Mate, by the way, as well, just quickly on Bergkamp, and I'll watch the footage back. I don't know if you feel this, but when you look at Bergkamp's, like, you watch a reel of all of his best moments and some of his passing, you'd think that was like Kevin De Bruyne, but on steroids. It's crazy. The passing rates, the vision, the ball striking, mate. That is, man. I genuinely like when I watched. It was like a 20-minute montage of Dennis Bergkamp and his moments. Yeah. I was left in awe for what am I watching here? Yeah,
mate. You know what? Sometimes, yeah. Have you ever heard "Take My Breath Away"?
Yeah.
Sometimes I just sit there listening to "Take My Breath Away" and just think about Dennis Bergkamp. Honestly, this guy, the stuff that you've seen in compilations is phenomenal because obviously assists and goals and all that sort of stuff. Mate, this guy would be like that in the game 1 to 90. Some of the things that Dennis Bergkamp did with the ball bamboozles me even just now thinking about it. In fact, I'm getting like tingles on my yeah, mate, the hairs on my head are upstanding. Like, Dennis was a supremely talented and technical footballer, and oh wow, Ro, this has been so much fun, but for so many different reasons.
I've loved listening to you talk about this because I'm getting goosebumps, and I've not even watched it through.
I love the comparison that you had with Kevin De Bruyne, on the ball, the end product that De Bruyne had. Bergkamp could do the lot.
It's like the long range passing as well. I'm seeing him from like picking it off the setbacks, and he's just pinging it. Like,
mate, you know what?
40 yards.
The best thing about Bergkamp's game was how selfless and how aware he was of everyone on the pitch.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously the goals and the skills and the little dinks and finishes and chips and all that. Fantastic. I get it. But Arsene Wenger, you talk about teams in transition or getting them on the counter attack. We were the kings, Ro.
Yeah.
The ball we'd win the ball back in our sort of defensive third. 3 passes and you're in. And the ball would just move slowly from centre back to Vieira or to Edu or to Gilberto in, Bergkamp drops deep. And as soon as Bergkamp picks the ball up, mate, he's already made the pass in his head before he's even released the ball. And it was an automatism. Henry straight off running, Pires on the other side, Ljungberg this side. Yeah. And the geezer just had a radar in his head, and he just knew. And and it wasn't just like the anticipation of the player movement. It wasn't even it was the quality of the ball, but it was the weight of the pass, Ro.
Yeah.
Like,
that's it. The weight of the pass.
Weight of the pass. Is players can make passes in the right direction, through the right lines, through the right defenders, and into space. And I get it. And sometimes it's the player receiving the ball or being played onto the ball that makes the pass look good.
Yeah.
This guy's pass. I mean, it's like, have you ever parked your car perfectly in a car parking spot? And like, you do it first time and you're like, in the lines, front and back, doors open perfectly. This is unbelievable. But that was every ball that Bergkamp kicked. I couldn't. He was unbelievable.
Brilliant. I love it. Oh, I just wish I could have seen it live in the flesh for sure. And hopefully some of these boys here can give us some memories. That makes us feel.
How many is Viktor scoring on Saturday?
Cheeky single, 1 goal. Then he'll be saving it for City.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I went out for dinner last night with Dembele, and he was like, "Oh yeah, he's got to get a hat trick." And I was like, "Do you know what? All that's important for Victor is that he's got to notch one this Saturday, just to
I
keep that
agree.
momentum
I
going,
agree.
just to keep it ticking along. And then the numbers look good, 3 and 4. I think if he has a goalless game, I think the question marks come back out again, not from us, but from rival fans and the media. And oh, is he the right player? If he gets another goal, doesn't have to be a good goal, just get a goal and just keep the numbers purring, and then go into a big game like City or Newcastle and do the damage there." But I love the boy. Those of you who watch Last Day Film will know I've been raving about him for a year.
Do you know what it is about Gyökeres? I think with Gyökeres, it's all about the numbers. That's all it's going to be about with him, because when we look at him as a player, this might sound harsh, but I'm just trying to draw the comparison to other strikers that we've seen in terms of like Ekitike, Isak. Gyökeres, in terms of like a stylistic comparison, he's more of the ugly duckling. In terms of when he drops, when he runs, it can look quite clunky. But with Gyökeres, I feel like if he just keeps bagging, that is his sole responsibility. I know it's really basic analysis, but I do think with Gyökeres, that is going to be his primary job for this team. Like you said, if he scores one, that's 3 and 4. The numbers look a lot better, and you're not going to get the fail comps and what you've seen on the international break and some of the footage as well. I think that's what it's all about with Gyökeres. He just needs to keep scoring, and I think it's about momentum. Get a goal against Forest, then you've got the Bilbao game, then we've got the big game against City as well. Because I think right now he's had like 2 like high octane games against the likes of United and Liverpool, and they haven't been his best individual performances. Not all his fault. The team as a collective needs to click more with him. But mate, as you said, he just needs to get on the score sheet and just keep it going. And I think that's all it's about with him.
I love the fact that he's just so into goals.
Yeah,
that's all he wants to do. From the video, the announcement video. Do you remember? I think it was Erdegaard who wrote him a letter, and the interviewer was like,
yes,
what do you want? And he was like, mate,
some
just give me
assists.
assists. That's it. This is the guy. He strikes me as the sort of guy that just doesn't give a shit about anything.
Yeah.
Turns up to training, wants to just twat the ball into the back of the net. Doesn't care who's in goal.
Yeah.
Wants to turn up to a match day. Doesn't really care about any of the sort of pre-match antics. Just get me out there on the pitch. Give me a little ball give me a little 1v1 on the keeper. I want to score my goals. And every international break, I'm going to go to the Amalfi Coast and just have a nice holiday.
Yeah,
literally, he just strikes me as I just want to play football, score goals. That's it.
And if he does that, we're happy, aren't we? If he does that, we're happy. Yeah,
mate,
exactly.
we're delighted.
Yeah, because we've got the other players who are going to be able to give us more of the flair, the guile, the eye-catching moments. If he just keeps bagging, that's all we need. And moving on to the final position, guys, it's got to be in it.
Yeah. I mean, I say that reluctantly because I do have a soft spot for Gabby Martinelli, and I know he's not having the best time. I do think maybe a couple of games out of the team might be good for him, and I'd be really interested to see how Gabby Martinelli fares as an impact sub. If we run down the opposition 60-70 minutes, and let's say on Saturday we're sort of maybe 2 or 3 up, 1 or 2 up, then to have to defend against Martinelli is going to be a real headache. So look, love the boy. Still think there's a player in him. Hope Mikel Arteta gets the best out of it. But how can you not give Eberechi Eze his debut?
Yeah. He teased us, Mikel, in the last game. He teased us with the...
He should have come on at half-time. Now, that was my one criticism of the Anfield game. I thought we played really well in the first half. And obviously, you say it with the benefit of hindsight, but a few of us tweeted at half-time, like Martinelli had just been so ineffective that you couldn't get much worse. Bring on Eze, who's had a full preseason, played for Palace in the opening too, and he came on and he showed some really beautiful moments. But he's got to start. I mean, Saturdays it's made for him. Hopefully it's a glorious sort of day, and the sun is
forecasted
out.
rain though. I think, Vice.
Well, it's going to rain goals. It's going to rain goals. Then. But yeah, Eze's got to start for me. You? It's a no-brainer.
100% no-brainer. No-brainer for me. Perfect opportunity.
The
first game coming back from the international break. There's no other Premier Leagues on. It's Arsenal, 12:30. Everybody's watching. Eze, couple of assists. Beautiful comp coming back from the aftermath of the game. That's all I need. And that leads me to the final point, which is prediction.
Ooh. Yeah. I think we will be comfortable, and I'm probably going with my heart here, but I think we'll score first. We'll score early. Hopefully, it opens up the floodgates. I'm not quite going to go 5-0, but I'll go with a 3 or a 4-1. How about you?
Okay. I was going to go for a 2-0. 2-0 Arsenal win.
Nice. Just keep it ticking over.
I think comfortable as well. I don't think we'll have many dramas. I actually thought last season. Do you remember the game against Forest last season? The 3-0. You know, the Saka go away, smacks it in the first half. Yeah, that was class. Ethan Waneri coming on scoring as well.
Didn't we beat them 5 the season before? I want to say we did. I've got a feeling that was my daughter's.
No,
yeah, I think I took my daughter to the M's. Yeah, it was 5, wasn't it? Saka scoring a couple.
The season before was the 2-1. It was the opening day. 23,
Gosh, when did we beat them 5? Was that year before?
That was 22-23. That was Reece Nelson came on and he got Martinelli scored the opener, the header. You remember? Then there was the party screamer, the Nelson double. Yeah. So that was 2 seasons
I don't
ago.
remember at all, man. You got a great memory. No, I don't. 5-0 though was the score. When you get to my age, Ray, you'll understand.
So I just need to keep trying to test my memory for sure. But we'll leave it here with one question, and it's from Forder, just to find where it is, which is an interesting question because I remember when you asked me something. Actually, it was something when you did those transfer specials, about one player that you'd like. And I remember you mentioned Morgan Rogers. So Forder's asked, although we have built a team full of monsters, do we still lack some experience? I'm kind of thinking maybe he's alluding to the Eze types and those, smooth operators who allow the game to flow as well. Do you still? I know we've got Eze, but do you think we still? If there's one thing we maybe lack, is it something of that mold, or are you happy with what we've assembled?
I don't think it's creative. I think what we've seen with Max Dowman and what we see with Ethan Waneri and what we've seen obviously with the additions of Eze and Odegaard already in the squad, these players are massive. And Madueke, phenomenal. And then you've got the likes of Kai Havertz, who's obviously not even playing, and what a brilliant player he is. No, I don't think so. I think the one thing that I think we might lack is just another box-to-box engine. We talk about Declan Rice, and we've eulogized about him and the value that he brings. We talk about the metronome in Zubimendi, but I don't really see him as a box-to-box warrior. If Declan Rice, let's say, picks something up, God forbid, what do? You're probably Zubimendi, Norgard, Odegaard.
Yeah.
I'd want a bit more maybe dynamism, a bit more
100%.
brutality, a bit more. I mean, Morgan Rogers would be fantastic. Adam Wharton, another top player that might be available next summer. I mean, you just want to stack the squad. I think someone mentioned in the chat, our squad depth is insane. Ben Harrop just a few moments ago. So I think that's probably the one area that I would work on. I think we're good going forward. It's a great question from 40.
Yeah, I think the midfield, it's interesting because we've waxed lyrical over Merino, but I would be looking potentially at Merino's sale next summer.
Controversial.
Potentially. I just feel that it's probably the right time to allow him to go, and it will allow Miles again to get more minutes in midfield as well. I'm thinking about that transition and how we can kind of manage that and give Miles more opportunities. And for me, I see his long-term future in midfield. And I do feel like, I agree with you where if we don't have Declan Rice, right, let's say he suffers an injury, God forbid, we do start to see that midfield lacking that energy and the legs that he provides. I think there's still something missing there. We're stacked, we have a player in every single position. But in terms of a profile, I agree. I think we do need someone still a little bit more dynamic to give me a little bit more comfort when we do lose a Declan Rice. Because right now, I think for me, say any injury to him, God forbid, because I think that midfield does start to struggle. But I think we'll leave it there for sure. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, mate. You've been class, and I've loved
better than Alex. Just say it, man.
Better than Alex. Better than Alex. Absolutely.
Who needs Alex?
You know what it is? I always see. I listen to every single Latte Fan podcast at work.
Thanks,
For me, it's just lovely in the background being able to do my work as well. And I don't listen to a lot of football content actually. I like to listen to other sorts of podcasts, but Latte Fan always, and that is where you should be going to subscribe, and anywhere else, anything else you'd like to plug, before we
you're very kind, very, very kind, and I recognize so many of the names in the chat, which is phenomenal. I am doing a match preview in about half an hour on Latte Fan, actually as part of the Daily Grind with Wolfie of Forest Fan TV, so come and join us for about 20 minutes if you want to get his thoughts on Ange and what his views are on Arsenal and the game ahead. But no, man, honestly, be very, very, very kind. You and Alex have always backed me and supported, and it's just a pleasure and a privilege to be on the show. And And obviously, Alex, we hope you are well soon, my friend. But just leave a few subscribers for me, yeah?
Absolutely. And make sure
what's
you
going
do
on?
that.
What's going on?
Like, just as Ray says, hit Latifan raid immediately. Get yourself there. Raid that channel there right now. And it's been brilliant to have you, mate. Brilliant to have you. So yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed the live. And there's more content coming out with the Cannon podcast. George has actually got his Tactics Corner segment out today.
With a new tactics board, is that right?
Yeah, I've heard there's a new tactics board. Yeah. I think James Alcott has helped them in that regard. So yeah, George is cooking with that, and you can access that by becoming a director, accessing that subscription. But there's loads of other stuff in terms of youth pods that are going to be coming out. You've got rewatches that me and James B are going to be doing regularly, AFTV James, which is very exciting. And this Discord server as well, in which that's always popping. I think there's around about 515 people in the Discord as well now. So, loads of exciting times at the Cannon podcast, and you can access the membership, a 7-day free trial within the description below. But nothing else from me to say. Faisal,
can I just say one last thing? Can I say one last thing?
Yes,
a lot of the chat are saying, "Oh, Wolfie, he hates Arteta." I didn't know that, but I will push Wolfie on that. How can you hate Miguel?
Push him.
I will push him. Thank you, man. Appreciate it, bro.
Love having you. Thank you guys for tuning in. And last but not least, thanks for keeping it Arsenal.
Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. This was one kind of queue the ladies thoroughly enjoyed.
Electrifying. Inspiration.